What's up, everybody? I'm Will Peterson from the Backcountry. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button right down there so you don't miss a single video upload. We've got content for days, endurance and outdoor stories from the most inspiring people out there. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. I want to talk about the story that stuck out to me big time was the story of your cracked rim, because I think if stuff like that had happened to me, I probably would have quit because I'd be scared for my life. So what walk us through sort of the setup, the situation, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, the cracked rim was definitely a pretty difficult situation. It's kind of it's like a whole. There are a lot of things that play into this being a really, really shitty day or days. So as I alluded to earlier, the roads through central Mexico were really dangerous. So I was a couple hundred miles north of Mexico City, coming into Ciudad Querétaro, which I'd personally never heard of before, but it's a city of several million, like a huge city. So I was on the heels of one of my best days. I was like mile 230 of this 260-mile day, and on these really dangerous roads. Like imagine U.S. interstate, but no shoulder. It's just as busy, but all semi trucks. As that's what it was. It was like a Mexican interstate with these semi trucks, only semi trucks, no private vehicles in between cities, just all semi trucks, and they own the road. They think they do, and they kind of do. Like there's no cyclists on these roads, so they're just running me off the road all day. So like pull up against next to you and like cut you off where you have to run into the off the road, like just into the woods,
Oh,
which
like
is
very purposefully.
100%, yeah.
That's
Which is like it's very dangerous, obviously, and then it's also just really annoying because you're like, okay, these people don't want me here, and it just feels very dangerous and is very dangerous.
how many times did it happen to you?
Probably 4 or 5 times throughout the day.
That
Yeah,
that's
and
so
then
terrifying.
and then the sun was about to set, and this trucker came by and like ran me off the road, and like cut me off sharp enough that like his trailer like brushed my arm, like made physical contact, and I was able to stay up, but it was like, okay, this is getting really scary, and like the sun's about to set. I'm going along, and then there's a broken down semi truck on the side of the road. Like there is no shoulder, so it's just like kind of on the side of the road, but it's right on the white line. So I was like kind of riding on the white line the whole day. Now I had to come into like I had to take the whole lane. So I saw it like 700 meters ahead. So I took the lane and like I had my lane. I established it. It's a 2 lanes in each direction. So, and then there's another semi truck coming up, two semi trucks behind me, and one of them decides he wants to run me off the road instead of just moving over. And so just as I'm about to pass the parked semi truck in the on the side of the road, the other semi truck runs me off the road. And with about 10 feet to go, I realized like okay, I can either try to shoot this gap and like literally it's like gonna be a meat grinder. Like it's a 6 inch gap. I'm going to get just yeah, like I'm not making it out. Or I
Mhm.
can plow into the back of this parked semi truck going 25 miles an hour. And so I just like leaned as hard as I could and just they were like running into a brick wall essentially, 25 miles an hour. Somehow I escaped pretty unscathed. Like I was a little beat up, but like nothing serious. But my rim cracked, and in retrospect, my frame probably had like a micro crack too. Because 1,000 miles later, it cracked on something it shouldn't.
Mhm.
But yeah, my wheel cracked, carbon wheels. Luckily, it was holding air, um, but it was like very dangerous to ride on because at any moment it could just split open. Essentially, I didn't think it was going to, but it could have in theory. And like I was like messaging my sponsor, like trying to get a new wheel, and they're like, the one thing we're gonna tell you is do not ride this wheel. Like you cannot ride on this wheel. I was like, well, I'm going to ride on this wheel. I have to to get into Querétaro because Querétaro City was still like 45 miles away.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, just like really nervous, shaking all over. Um, Getting back on the road. Now my blinky light died. Like it got destroyed in the crash, so I had no rear light, and it's now dark. Like had to get to the next hotel like 20 miles away. Just like really freaky. I got to the hotel and just like laid down in the bed for like 10 minutes to stop myself from shaking. Next morning, need to get into the city, and every 5 minutes I would like pull over and like calm myself down because it's like the road's just getting worse and worse, and mentally I'm like psyching myself out. And I pull over and I'm like, okay, like maybe the situation's worse than I'm making out to be. Like these roads maybe aren't as dangerous. Like maybe last night was a freak accident, and then I start biking again, like 50 miles out of the city, and I there was a pedestrian who had been walking on the same white line that I was biking, who had gotten hit by a semi truck like a couple of minutes before I'd been there, and just like his mangled body was like very graphic, like very disturbing. It was like right in front of me, and like
Was,
the police hadn't even gotten there yet.
oh my God.
I like just had happened. I could hear sirens in the distance, but it was like okay, this is very real. Like, I'm not overreacting. Like, I could be, like, that could be me next. That could have been me this time. So I had like essentially what I would call a panic attack on the bike. I really had one before, but just like hyperventilating, like couldn't think of anything. And so kind of just like closed my eyes and just went and got into the city, got my wheel repaired. But that was a 35-mile day. It like took all day to get a new wheel. Yeah, that was another day where like I lost, 200 miles of progress there. Um, and then I was just like sitting in a hotel room all day, thinking about everything that just happened and thinking, okay, I have to get back on these roads tomorrow. Super damaging day mentally. And then getting back on the road the next day was like, took a lot of like, I had to rebuild my confidence for sure. So that was definitely a low point of the trip and pretty grim in the moment. And like looking back, it's pretty bad too. Um, but yeah, that was the cracked wheel incident.
Yeah, at what, like, was there ever a point where you were like questioning if it was worth your safety?
I think maybe this speaks badly of me, but no.
God.
I know people are gonna hear this and be like, oh, that's yeah, he's an idiot. He's young and dumb. Uh, It was like I was like, okay, there's probably a 25% chance every single day I'm on these roads in Mexico that I'm gonna get hit. Like it's just the risk is so high. And I knew it was there, and I didn't really ever think about quitting though.
Mhm.
I definitely thought about alternative options, alternative routes, and there just was nothing. Um, yeah, it was kind of like, okay, this is where I am. This is it. I just got to get through this section, and it
How
got
many?
better the next day.
Okay, so it was really like a couple of days of these really really bad roads.
Yeah, like if it had been that way the whole time, well, I wouldn't be here if it were that way the whole time. Like my luck would have run out at some point. But
Yeah.
I would have walked away from it. I knew it was like I need to get past Mexico City, and then the roads are gonna get less and less busy because it's kind of like in Mexico, from my experience, it's like a all roads lead to Rome type of thing. All roads lead to Mexico City.
Mm,
So it was just getting busier and busier. I was getting closer to Mexico City, and I knew once I got south of Mexico City, it would get less and less busy.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Uh, were y- were there any other moments on the trip that that shook you? Did you have any interesting wildlife encounters or any other situations where you're just like, wow, this is like I'm out here. This is sketchy.
Yeah, no interesting wildlife encounters. I was kind of hoping to see a grizzly bear up close. I saw one from a distance a couple times in the tundra up north in Alaska, but
Mhm.
never got to use my bear spray, unfortunately. No, I'm joking. Nothing. Yeah, there were in Peru. I had really mean drivers too, and was hit twice in Peru as well. But like more
Mhm.
minor collisions, those were a little shaky. I saw a dead person in Colombia, and then the next day in Ecuador, but they didn't like they were pedestrians who had been hit as well, or motorcyclists who had been hit, but they didn't rattle me as much. I was kind of desensitized by then.
You
Um,
saw multiple dead. How many dead people did you see on this ride?
Three, yeah, it was three,
That's insane. Is that like
yeah,
when I mean I guess cycling like roadways are a dangerous place, but like had you ever encountered that before in your other
no,
cycling?
no, and I guess like another instance where I was rattled was in Texas. I just had the worst time in Texas, like brutal headwind, going through like Western Texas, desert, pretty pretty grim place, really flat and nothing there except for oil wells.
Mm.
And the oil companies had like scraped all the topsoil off, and it was really windy, so it was like a dust storm the entire time. And I was like, we're just like destroying the world, and I'm having an awful time. This is the worst. It was like the first bad days. It was like day 20, and then like a dog ran out to greet me. Like dogs chase you all the time on the bike.
Mhm.
Um, Probably not with malice, just out of curiosity. And an oil tanker was coming out their way and just like ran right over him, and that rattled me a
Oh.
lot because like if I hadn't been there, the dog wouldn't have run out, and so like, that dog's death is like kind of on me, as unfair as that may be.
Mm.
So that was another one that rattled me. But I think I got to the point like by the time I was in Colombia, it was like there wasn't much that was going to rattle me. Like everything that could go wrong had already gone wrong. So like even though I like saw a motorcyclist had just been hit by a car, I was like very graphic. It was like I didn't really react. It was almost scary in a way. That I was so mentally desensitized to everything. I remember like writing in my journal like what is happening to me? Like is this healthy to be so desensitized? But I think it's just part of the trip. But yeah, maybe not healthy in the end. I don't know. It's like there's a lot to unpack there. I don't know even where to start, to be honest.